it is minus 40 degrees. The wind has not stopped screaming for 6 straight days. You are standing on a flat white plain, and there is not a single tree in any direction, all the way to the horizon. There are no houses, no shops, no heating, no coat from a store. If you sat down right now and did nothing, you would be dead before morning, and the cold would not even bother to hurry. This was not one bad night. This was the world for tens of thousands of years during the last ice age, and here is the part that should stop you cold. Your direct ancestors lived through it. Every single one of them, in an unbroken chain, survived winters that would kill you in hours. So how on earth did they do it? The answer is genuinely crazy, because to beat a cold, this brutal ancient humans did things that sound clever, then disgusting, then almost impossible. Let us count them down, and I promise the last one will not sound real. Start with the most basic problem and the first crazy solution. To survive the cold, you need fire. But remember, on the frozen mammoth steppe where most of these people lived, there were no trees. No trees means no wood. No wood means, by every logic you know, no fire. So what did they burn? Bones. They burned bones. Animal bone is packed with fat and grease inside it, and once you get it going hot enough, it burns long and steady, hotter and slower than wood. Archaeologists have dug up ancient hearths filled not with charcoal, but with charred, cracked bone. Your ancestors sat around fires made of the skeletons of the animals they had eaten, feeding the flames with more bone through the endless dark. And when even bone ran low, they burned dry dung. That is survival method number 1, and we are only getting started. Now you have a fire, but a fire outdoors in a blizzard is almost useless. You need shelter, and this is where it gets strange because they did not just find shelter, they built houses out of the dead. On the treeless plains of what is now Ukraine, archaeologists uncovered homes made almost entirely from mammoth bones. We are talking about structures built from the jaws, the leg bones, the shoulder blades, and the enormous curving tusks of dozens of mammoths, stacked and interlocked into a dome, then covered over with heavy hides and packed earth. One of these bone houses used the remains of around 95 mammoths. Picture living inside an igloo made not of ice, but of bones, warm and dark, the wind howling against a wall of skulls. To them, it was home. But shelter and fire are worthless if your body runs out of fuel, and here we hit the crazy fact almost nobody knows. In that cold, a human needs a monstrous number of calories, far more than you eat today, just to keep your core from freezing. So they hunted, constantly. But here is the twist. They could not just eat meat. There is a deadly condition, sometimes called rabbit starvation, that happens when you eat nothing but lean meat. Your body cannot process that much pure protein without fat, and you slowly, horribly starve to death even while your stomach is full. Ancient humans knew this in their bones, so they did not prize the muscle, they prized the fat. The marrow inside the bones, the fatty organs, the layer of blubber under the skin. To them, the fattest, greasiest, most calorie-dense parts of an animal were the most precious food on earth, and a lean animal in deep winter could be a death sentence. Then there is the invention that quietly saved our entire species, and it is so small you would never guess it. A needle, a tiny sewing needle carved from bone with an eye punched through it. Before this, people draped animal skins over themselves like loose blankets, and cold air poured through every gap. But with a needle and thread of animal sinew, humans could do something new. They could tailor. They could sew fitted, layered, sealed clothing, an inner layer against the skin, an outer layer of fur turned outward, stitched tight at the wrists and neck to trap warm air against the body. It was the ancient world's version of a high-tech parka. And here is the chilling part. The Neanderthals, who shared this frozen world with us, seem to have never mastered the fine tailored clothing that we did. Some scientists think that this simple technology, the humble-eyed needle, may be one of the quiet reasons we survived the Ice Age. And they did not. Now the methods start turning dark, so brace yourself. When the hunting failed and the snow buried everything, food would run out completely, and the body does not care about your feelings when it is starving. So ancient humans stored meat by burying it in the frozen ground, using the permafrost itself as a natural deep freezer. But that meat did not stay fresh. It rotted, it fermented, it turned into something that would make you gag today. And they ate it anyway, sometimes on purpose, because fermented, half-rotten meat is packed with calories, and, strangely, it does not spoil the same way once it is already turned. Across the frozen north, eating aged, fermented, decomposing meat was not a mistake. It was a survival strategy. And in the very worst winters, when there was no meat at all, the evidence gets darker still. At more than one Ice Age site, Archaeologists have found human bones with butchery marks on them, the unmistakable signs that, when the choice was cannibalism or extinction, some groups chose to survive. It was not evil. It was the coldest math there is. And now the last one, the method that genuinely does not sound real, because scientists studying the bones of an ancient human relative found something bizarre. The bones showed patterns of growth that stopped and started in regular seasonal cycles, the same kind of pattern you see in the bones of animals that hibernate. It has led some researchers to a stunning idea that during the darkest, deadliest depths of winter, when there was no food and no reason to move, some early humans may have done what bears do, slowed their bodies down, dropped their heart rate, lowered their temperature, and sunk into a kind of long, deep torpor, sleeping through the worst of the cold like an animal waiting out the season. Imagine your ancestors curled together in a bone house, half buried in snow, their bodies slowed almost to stillness, dreaming through weeks of frozen darkness, waiting to wake with the returning sun. It is still just a hypothesis, but the bones are real. Picture it directly. You are inside a dome of mammoth bone, buried under fresh snow so deep it silences the wind. A small fire of burning bone glows orange in the dark, throwing shadows across the curved ribs of the ceiling. Your family is pressed together under heavy furs, every one of you wrapped in tailored hides stitched with a bone needle. A cache of aged, fermented meat waits frozen in the floor. And through the longest, coldest night the world has ever thrown at humans, you do not panic and you do not run. You slow down, you conserve, you endure, and you wait. Because you come from the ones who figured out how. Which brings us all the way back to you, complaining about the cold on the short walk from your warm house to your heated car. It is easy to feel like the Ice Age is something that happened to other people, primitive and far away. But it is not far away at all. Every single human being alive today is descended, without one single break in the chain, from people who beat the coldest, longest, most lethal winters this planet has ever known, and who did it with burning bones, houses of the dead, rotting meat, and possibly by hibernating through the dark like animals. They did not just survive the Ice Age, they outthought it. And the fact that you are warm enough right now to be even slightly bored is the final proof that, against everything, it worked.